Fucking get the audio on me. Can I get a? Oh yeah.
But you can't say you've chose to be this bold and play with wing backs when you have shaved it off.
Oh yeah.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast that doesn't do introductions or plan them properly anymore. It is the What the Falk podcast, as always. We're now back at the Euros. We've moved away from France after chatting about. I accidentally realised I'd called Reggie Libri Cedric Libri numerous times in the last podcast, which took me a lot more editing than it did before. Thankfully, the name of Phil Foden's a little bit easier to pronounce, but an even easier name to pronounce and a more English name, David Lawrence. You're here to join me, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Looking forward. That seems to be my new phrase, picking the bones out of that one with a couple of lads while having a beer. I haven't got the beer yet, and it's not going to take long to pick the bones out of it, but hopefully a few people get a laugh just from listening to us not be idiots.
Yeah, I mean, last time we did the Europods were like really good. Obviously, we had Jack and Matt and loads of other people on last time, and we loved doing it because everything was great. And I'm not going to lie to you, I think about the Denmark game, I was like, this was a bad idea. Let's never do this again. But we started, so we'll finish. Ross, we thought we'd escaped 0-0 draws in pedestrian football when the season ended, but we're back for more. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, just came up with coma that I was put into watching last night's game. Do you know what? It's been great watching. I'm watching the game currently as I record the Georgia-Portugal game, and watching team move the ball forward with pace, man. Honestly, what a concept. We should try it.
Mad, isn't it? I got so mad I threw a can at the telly yesterday, and I slowly realised I'm morphing into me dad. Lee, did you throw any cans at the telly yesterday?
No, I didn't, mate. I didn't have one, luckily. I don't think the other half would have been particularly pleased if I damaged the telly by throwing a can at it. I just feel like us as being Sunderland fans, we cannot win when it comes to football. We watch Sunderland for 9 months of the season and they're utter dreadful. Then we go and watch England for 3 or 4 weeks and they're just exactly the same with a higher class of players. Just feel like we're getting punished by a higher power for liking football. And it's not fair. Without having to do a lot of editing, it was very poor. Very, very, very poor. I've never been so bored watching a football game, and I watched Sunderland versus Queen's Park Rangers in March. It was just dreadful, utter dreadful. You got players like Foden and Bellingham and Saka and Kane who got 165 goals and assists this season, and they couldn't string 5 passes together with intent. Cheers, Gareth. It was just absolutely awful. Like,
Yeah, it was absolutely pants. Yeah, you can go back literally like 2 weeks ago when Dave was like, I hate Gareth Southgate. And I was like, no, I don't mind him. And I was like the only one that kind of went, don't mind him so much. But it does mean I should probably ask you, Dave, get it out the way here. How does it feel about being right about Southgate? But please, Gareth, just make it better.
You've got to feel for the bloke. I mean, people are going to listen to this and go, "What? Dave's giving him some sympathy," but you've got to feel for someone when they hang themselves out to dry that fucking much that he says that starting 11 is basically missing Calvin Phillips. Well, he'd have made a whole load of difference last night, wouldn't he?
We can't replace Calvin Phillips. You can.
So basically, we spent, I would suggest, 75 minutes of a whole game passing sideways and backwards. Calvin Phillips would have just made that statistically a 90-minute game of passing sideways and backwards. It's absolutely horrific. How he's bordering on being a dinosaur, but he's also bordering on being a stubborn dinosaur. I don't get what he sees.
A stubborn dinosaur. The Ice Age is coming. It's not. I'm not going to let it come. I'm not allowing it. No. You're a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I am bloody well not. I'm not a Tyrannosaurus Rex. I am a Different dinosaur. Stubborn dinosaurs, yes.
And we've all of a sudden we've just got the headline of this week's podcast, and it's brilliant.
The stubborn dinosaur.
To be fair, I tell you what, if we can edit it out with no expletives, we could get ourselves another 10,000 David Williams subscribers here.
It's the Ice Age coming. It better not be. No, I'm not having it. Yeah. I mean, look, I think I got quite annoyed because we did that podcast when I was in the hotel room in Frankfurt and the Wi-Fi was terrible. Before I'd realized I'd booked the wrong flight back, which I'm still absolutely like paying for, right? But me, you, and Brad covered the Denmark game, Ross, and like I was fuming at the time, and then I sat and really thought about the Calvin Phillips comment, and I thought, right, okay, I kind of understand what he means, how important like a certain player is. Like you watch France and Rabiot's maybe not like the one you'd pick in midfield, but he does offer that like level of balance that Deschamps wants. But look, the midfield is a problem, right? It is a problem. We pinpointed that after the Denmark game and we said he needs to make changes. He made the one change. He brought Conor Gallagher in the midfield, which was like, I mean, it's like taking off like, I don't know. I can't think of a good example, so I'm not going to bother. It's like being a dinosaur.
It's like giving up drugs and becoming an alcoholic instead.
Aye, it's just pointless. Like Gallagher doesn't offer you anything different, anything better, anything worse than Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think the bigger problems, there is a problem in midfield, but there's also a problem with the left back position, in my opinion. I think Trippier's obviously, he's been there and won the t-shirt. He knows what he's doing, Ross. But at left back, like every time the ball goes into him, he's got space to run into, but he has to cut in because he's got no left foot. And it kills so many attacks. On top of that, I think you've got Kane coming far too deep. And I think the best we've seen of Kane is sometimes when he's got a runner alongside him, like a Sterling, what it would have been a few years ago, a Rashford, somebody like that. Like people who are on at the tournament. And I think we're also seeing a problem with Bellingham at the moment. And I think we're seeing a problem with Foden at the moment in terms of what we know they can bring and what they aren't bringing. I think Foden's more down to positional. But we talked about changes before the Slovenia game, and he hasn't made them, Ross. Rather than me going over what the problems are, because I think it's like it couldn't be more obvious if like it smacked you in the face. Does he make the changes now? Because obviously he made those changes second half, and I don't think it made a massive difference, but it did make a difference. We kind of upped the ante a bit when Manu, Palmer, I thought we looked far more dangerous in the kind of 30 seconds that Anthony Gordon came on. Do you think that's going to change his mind, or do you think he's going to be the stubborn dinosaur? It's not the fucking Ice Age that he is, and just stick with the tried and tested, and maybe just put somebody else in midfield outside Trent or Conor Gallagher?
Yeah, he's. I don't know, because I was really annoyed at the fact that they'd give all of this bollocks basically the press. Yeah, there's going to be changes. You know, we've had a good debrief. We've realised what we're going to do. You see, he only makes one change, and you're like, right, that's fair enough. You know what I mean? It's not what I want to do. I wanted more, but he said we're going to change, so we're going to attack it differently first half. You know, we're going to be playing differently. We're going to have a different system. And then you watch the first half an hour, and you're like, it's exactly the fucking same. What have they been doing in training? That's what gets me. I don't get it. And then he admits that he got the midfield wrong again. So for every game in this group stage, he's got the team wrong, which doesn't exactly bode well for the knockouts, let's be honest. And then he brings Maino on. First 10, 15 minutes makes an impact. We don't get that clear-cut chance. We don't get that goal. And he'll choke to death there. You have to edit that out. And then you go, right, make the changes. It's ready to be made. Saka's doing nothing. We need more width on the left. You know, get Palmer on, get Gordon on. He waits, and then he goes 75 minutes, right, Palmer's coming on, brilliant. He's taken off Saka, no problem, right? And then nothing changes really, apart from Palmer being the bright spark again, which we expected because we've seen him do it all season at the Premier League. And you go, right, 15 minutes left, got to bring Gordon on. 10 minutes left, he's not going to bring Gordon on. 5 minutes left, he's making a sub, here he comes. And he brings on Trent fucking Alexander-Arnold, who's already been dropped for not being good enough to play in midfield. And he puts him right back and puts Kyle Walker left back. And you think to yourself, if he can do that now, why have we had to suffer watching Trippier doing drag backs every time he gets the ball for the past 3 games?
And
why could that not?
I want to state as well, with the Trippier thing, there will be like some people who might come across this as an England fan and then realize they're listening to like what's mainly a Sunderland podcast and go, oh, they're just hammering Trippier because he's a Mac. We've praised Gordon to the hilt, said want him in the team. Trippier at left back doesn't work. It doesn't. He's got no left foot. Like, how many of those moves break down because of Trippier? But look, here's another question for you, talking about changes. We're missing so much balance. Does Joe Gomez come in at left back because he's got left foot, Ross? Or do we go to that back 3 and then be put like a... Look, I know Saka's right-footed, but he can play on the left. Do you put him as like a left wing back, or has Southgate royally fucked it by not taking anyone outside Luke Shaw, who's obviously never going to be fit?
He's absolutely fucked it. Let's be honest. He's not going to change now. He won't even change a team that's not working for 3 games. He's not going to change his shape. I think the only thing he will do is maybe put Walker at left back and Trent at right back, which, to be fair, I wouldn't be against. I know it's not perfect. I know it's a bit of a stinker because Trent does have his defensive deficiencies, but I do believe that it could work. But again, we haven't got left footed there. You know what I mean? So unless he goes to a back 3 and totally rips it up, then there's not a chance, I think, Gomez. I don't even know why Gomez went, to be honest. If he's not going to get on the pitch when Trippier isn't. You never know. We might be surprised and he might change it, but I can't see it. The only thing is now is, obviously, you've seen today Phil Foden's had to go back to the UK for his wife giving birth. So he's probably not going to be involved at all.
Could you give birth to a fucking left back by any chance? Fast track.
But yeah, so he's not going to be involved in training, let's be honest.
No.
So does that force Southgate's hand a bit? You'd like to think so, but I think the elephant in the room is how bad. We're all going into it at the start of this tournament going, well, Harry Kane, Joe Bellingham, you know what I mean? We've got 2 of the best in Spain, best in Germany.
You said
Job. he's playing like Joe Bennett this season, isn't he? Bless him. But yeah, Jude. But we all thought like especially after the first game, how good Jude played. That's it. They're the difference makers. But they're both playing like they've got lead boots on. I don't know what it is.
I'm a huge fan of Jude Bellingham, and I've never been someone who thinks like, do you know when you hear people saying like, oh, Harry Kane shouldn't play, like, I don't know, Ivan Toney should play or something instead. I've always been like, no, Harry, think about it. Like, but at the minute, like, I'm going to be honest, I was crying out for Watkins yesterday. I thought just get someone in behind, and I thought Bellingham looks really ordinary, and I've never seen him look ordinary, and I don't know if he's tired. I don't know if the system's not working. He's looking frustrated. He went and like pushed that lad towards the end, and that was just sheer frustration. But Dave, look, I know, I kind of feel like I know what the answer's going to be here. We could touch on the match a bit, but I feel like we're just going around in circles a bit. It's just Denmark Mark II with substitutions that have been made that make us a bit better. One thing that's really got my goat, like it's really got to me, was the kind of chat after the Denmark game and leading up to the Slovenia game, where I think it was Declan Rice, who I really like. I think he speaks really well. Harry Kane, who's obviously very well media trained. Southgate, numerous players coming out and saying, like, criticising Gary Lineker for basically saying it as it is. I mean, Lineker is in probably the best position you could of England strikers. Arguably the best number 9 prior to Harry Kane. To be able to have that opinion that it was shit, which I don't disagree with. But this idea that England fans should just get behind them and just be like, oh, like, well done. Hard luck. You finished top of the group. Fantastic. Is it just me, or is it absolutely mental that they're just going to a Euros playing for England, playing the way they're playing, and wanting us to kind of like kiss their asses rather than just call a spade, Dave?
Absolutely. We've been there with club football as well as international as well, haven't we? And you can have a short-term memory. There is a lot of short-term memories in football.
For the record, I'm not saying abuse, by the way. If anyone, I'm not saying abuse them, but I don't think Lineker and I don't think it's been anything other than calling a spade, Dave. You know, I know there's a difference between abuse and basically calling out a performance, but they have been shit.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, that you've obviously threw that can that hard at the TV that has popped through the TV into Germany and whacked them. Do you know what I mean? So go steady next time. But yeah, abuse is over the top. Throwing things at him is uncalled for. However, people are paying a lot of money, are very patriotic, are very loyal. He's got to remember, when he first came in, when he started getting towards the latter stages of tournaments and playing, dare I say, a brand of football which was half exciting. Like, people were singing his name. One of the greatest songs of all time by Atomic Kitten, and they've changed the words. Do you know what I mean? So it's a big compliment, to be getting Kerry Katona's lyrics changed. It's unbelievable. So you're right. Like, this isn't us lot on the podcast who, we're all involved with football and have been for a number of years, but never played on a pitch in a major finals and never played at some of Europe's best football clubs and have been there and done it and got the T-shirt. I think they've got a right, haven't they? And they also have a right to us as the public to tell it as it is. I mean, the one thing I can say from club football, we have an element of media who don't ask the tough questions when they should be asked, and they don't give the tough opinions because I don't have a problem with it. And I think to say that we're playing in a strange environment, well, it's a strange environment because everyone's bored shitless. You're literally boring us to death and we can't get excited. I've been up to the local football club and watched the game with about 60 people last night. It got to 45, half time, and everyone just started criticising, everyone together, and that was the only part of the atmosphere. It's been terrible so far.
It's a really easy group, Dave, as well.
Once again, I tell you what, he should have had the Euro Millions on again because of them results tonight, which I presume are confirmed by the time we've done this.
2-0 Georgia in the 90th minute, injury time.
We've now got Slovakia in the round of 16, and the big teams are all in the other half of the draw, the dangerous teams, should I say. So, honestly, his routes towards the last stages of tournaments since he's been in charge have been ridiculously easy, and he's done well. You can only beat what's in front of you, and he's getting to the later stages of the tournament. I don't think you'll find many people in the whole of this country, including Gary Lineker and the pundits, who think that we will go too much further than Slovakia if we even get past them, which is terrible, to be fair.
Well, they're ranked about 12 places above Slovenia. Panama are ranked 43rd, by the way. Lee, I think I was kind of reluctant to say this at the point because we kind of came on the pod, I think, with about 10 minutes left to go, and you never know in football. But that's the full time whistle just gone with Georgia. Like, literally, as I'm speaking, it's just gone. So it looks like, I don't know if anyone can tell me, but I think that's Slovakia confirmed in the last 16 now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
I know it means we've avoided the Dutch. In some circumstances, Lee, you look at like the route that we could have. I believe it's Slovakia, by the looks of it, in the next round, the last 16, which we would be favourites for again. Then beyond that, you're looking at, we have Switzerland or Italy. Sometimes you look at the routes to the final. Are you looking at any route to the final? Because I'm starting to get to a point where I'm a bit concerned about whoever we play next, because I just don't think we have what is in us to get anywhere near this tournament. And that means that you're just kind of waiting for the car crash to happen.
I totally agree. I mean, it's okay to say we do go and beat Slovakia. The way Switzerland are playing at the minute, if they turn over Italy, who haven't been playing great, we get turned over by Switzerland. End of. And you shouldn't be saying that with the caliber players we have. We should be sitting there going, right, we'll get through these, and we should be talking about who we're going to play in the final, ultimately. And that's not being like an arrogant Englishman like a lot of countries like portrayed us as. That's just stating facts. We have world class, like umpteen amount of £100 million footballers in our squad.
Be people thinking we're arrogant there, right? And I know there will be that. Maybe non-English people might think that. Maybe some English people might think that. But I was thinking last night, I was explaining, because someone said to me last night, wow, come on, you've done fine, just being bloody arrogant, thinking you get the final. Well, we've got the La Liga Player of the Year, arguably the best young player in the world. We've got the Premier League Player of the Year in the team. We've got the Bundesliga top goal scorer in the team. We've got a £100 million defensive midfielder. I mean, I know it's got issues, but how the hell do you not get those players even to a point where me and you feel confident that we might beat Slovakia?
The only thing I can think of is that they've spent all season getting managed by the likes of Guardiola and Ancelotti and Arteta and whoever Bayern Munich's manager is, Tuchel, it was Tuchel. And you've got all these high quality managers, and you go and join up with these, and you've got a borderline supply PE teacher telling you what to do, going 1-0 up and telling you to sit back and defend. No offence if I'd lose interest. I think ultimately what it is that they just don't care to play for him. I think when he first come in, after everything I've gone through under Hodgson, and he got the job, he got it at a perfect time where things were as low as you possibly can do. We got tortured off Iceland. And then obviously Allardyce got the chop after whatever happened with him. Then he got the job, and then like the English morale for the football team and the squad itself was low, like really, really low. And he's had some success, abbreviated comments for the audio listeners. And now I think players are just fed up with it. I honestly think they're just fed up with it, and they're just not bothered. You can clearly see they don't want to play for him. In my opinion, that's just me.
They don't seem like they know. For me, they don't seem to know what the plan is, and that's a big concern for me. I don't know whether I'd ever accuse them of not being bothered, but I think that sometimes when you can be confused in what you're doing, it can certainly look like that, because you think, well, and you're seeing little bits of frustration on the pitch. I touched on Bellingham before, kind of like he didn't elbow the lad, but he stuck a bit on him. Do you know what I mean? And like you could see he was frustrated. But Ross, I'm looking at our results right now. I'm, like I said before, a relatively big fan. I was of Southgate, and I understood that people felt like he lost the final against Italy for us. So it was his fault that happened. And that when he came up against France in the quarterfinals, he was undone. For me, he was a penalty away from winning a major tournament. And on top of that, I felt the France game, we were actually the better team at the time. I thought we were great at the World Cup. It just came a little bit too soon. But when I'm looking at this team now, I'm not seeing anywhere near what I thought it was. I'm actually seeing all of the fears and all of the worries that other fans who weren't Southgate fans right at the forefront. And I'm looking through sort of our form. And if you look at like the qualifiers and the friendlies, you've got draw 0-0 with Slovenia, 1-1 with Denmark, a narrow 1-0 win over Serbia, as we know. Defeat to Iceland before the tournament, a 3-0 win over Bosnia, a last-minute gasp 2-2 draw against Belgium, a 1-0 defeat against Brazil, a 1-1 draw against North Macedonia, a 2-0 win over Malta, and a very, very good 3-1 win over Italy, which was a really good performance if anyone watched it. There's been one good performance in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. Where is the Southgate that was, criticised in some quarters, but in the main had built a team that seemed to want to play for England. They seemed to have a real understanding of what the plan was. They had some things that needed to be fixed and resolved to win a tournament. But we still felt before this tournament that Gareth Southgate and his team could take us quite deep in this tournament. Where and when and why has this started to go wrong, in your opinion, Ross?
Well, I think it's a numerous factors, but to me, he's for some reason he's basically tried to change the team last minute in the squad. In my eyes, like he played Rashford in every squad, even though he wasn't playing well for Man United all season, and even last season he didn't do well. He played Rashford, and Rashford was a big part of our qualifying. Like, look at the Italy game; he was brilliant. He scored a great goal against them at Wembley. But then he's went to change it really quickly, and he for some reason he's decided to put, like you say, square pegs and round holes all of a sudden, and it's totally killed the fluidity. Um, it's just, I don't know what it is. I feel like he persisted with Henderson all the way through the qualifiers, all the way through the friendlies, up to the point of the squad being announced, and then it comes to the actual tournament, and he's like, wait there, haven't got Calvin Phillips in the tournament, haven't got Henderson as a stopgap. Like, he put Henderson in the World Cup when we were struggling the first couple of games, and Henderson made a massive impact. And then all of a sudden, I think he's made these changes based off form, and he hasn't had a thorough process or in the build up or even before the tournament in his mind to go, right, I've got these players, how do I get the best out of them? He's so stubborn in his shape and philosophy that it's so rigid that he's made an arse of it, because he's just assumed that, all right, Foden's played on the left a couple of times for City, he'll be great for us. But yeah, because he's got De Bruyne running around him. He's got Haaland, who sits in the 6-yard box. You know what I mean? He's got the best players in the world around him, and one of the best teams. Who the intuitiveness, the totally into the philosophy that they're into. They know every move people make, and I just feel like this one time he's overdone it. He's trying to be too clever. He's become too stubborn, and that's going to be his downfall, I think. And I think that the whole thing, I look back at it as going, Ben Chilwell didn't have a great season, right? But let's be honest, he's played in the friendlies, he's played in the qualifiers at left back when Luke Shaw's been injured. He's got to have gone because he's fit and he's a left back and he plays in the Premier League and he's English. The fact is, I think he's been too clever not taking Grealish, because these games in the groups would have been perfect for Grealish to hold the ball, take up defenders. I just think he's become too clever too soon. And if you're going to make changes like this to the squad and the style of play to whatever formation you want to fit it in, that's what the qualifiers and the friendlies are for. Not 2 games before the tournament and then the first 3 group games. I think I think that's just what it is, my opinion. It's a lot of factors as well, but the thing is, again, Dave mentioned it before. He could fall in a big pile of shit and come out smelling of roses. He could make a couple of changes now on Sunday. It could click, and we've then got a good run in the semi-final. And that's the kind of he's in a position of strength now to make changes. But I think he's going to be too stubborn to do it.
Devil's advocate, Dave. France wouldn't want to play them. Wouldn't fancy going against them. Wouldn't be surprised if they won the tournament. However, Dave, they finished second in their group, and France finished on the same level of points as us. They scored a penalty from Mbappe and an own goal. It's balance. Are we being a little bit too miserable? Are we actually in a really good position, or is that dependent on how things look moving forward? Because it would be nice to look back on this period, wouldn't it, and go, should have just waited.
Yeah, because ultimately what teams or countries like France and England will tell you is if we get the final, it's all about how you finish a tournament, not how you start it. And yeah, cliches, and they're cliches for a reason. However, I would suggest the two teams that I'd looked at so far out of everyone, and yeah, there's a couple of lovely stories in there, the likes of Georgia, Slovenia to a degree, even though they've bought the life out of everyone. Probably Spain and Germany. And they look like the two teams that have come into this tournament and have every intention of winning it. And I think because everyone will have watched those games, Spain, they've only scored 5 goals, but the way that they go and try and win the ball back so high up the pitch, the energy that they've got. Germany, they're on home turf. Yeah. It's day and night, isn't it? So there is balance there, but I would also argue that France have been just as shit as we are. So, yeah, that's the balance. I don't think either of us currently, we have a better chance because of the side of the draw that we're on, but I don't think I'd give either nation any squeak of winning this, to be fair.
Lee, let's change to be something a bit more positive, if I can. The games that have happened are gone. They're finished now. We can't change it. We've got through. We've topped the group. Ultimately, that's what we wanted. Whether we won 3 games or whether we drew 2 and were shit and then won 1. We're in the last 16. We've got a more than winnable game against a team that's ranked 43rd in the world. If we turn up and we play like we can, we win it. We know that. Like, that's exactly how it should be. So if we're looking forward and we're realizing that things can't change from the past as we know, what would make you feel positive and like England have got a chance at winning this Euros moving forward? Like what needs to happen in this game against Slovakia for you to make you go, well, hang on a minute, we could win this?
I think it needs to be a total 360 in my opinion. If we go out there on Sunday and we play with fast, fluid football, win the game 2 or 3-0 or 2 or 3-1, that's without writing Slovakia off, so I know it'll be a tough test. And we show, this is the England that we all thought what we're going to be coming into the competition. Then you're going to get your hopes up. You're going to get your hopes up. As long as we go out there and play the fluid football that we know that these players can produce, if you just let them off the leash and just let them play and show all the skills and the ability that they have, everything will be fine. I think if we go out and win the game comfortably, everybody will be going, right, England have arrived in the tournament. That's the way I see it. I'll say if we go out there and do that, I'll say, right, England have arrived in the tournament. And as it said, consistently, I know everyone's been critical and rightfully so. But Ross is right, what you said there. It's not how you start a tournament, it's how you finish it. And if we find our form in the knockout stages, there's no better way to go and find your form than in the knockout stages of a tournament, in my opinion.
I think it's a bit like these podcasts, in it. It's not how we start them, it's how we finish them. We've got 4 minutes left and we've getting Brad's on. Oh, hey, Brad. You've came in far too late, son, but here you are. Brad, I'm going to ask the same question to you, and I'm not going to tell you what the question was because then you're just going to have to say things. No, funnily enough, you've kind of came in as a direct substitute for Dave, which is really odd. Like a late substitute. You're basically Anthony Gordon at the minute. Well, or a mag. Not a mag. I'd never say that. But what needs to change for you, Brad, to make you think England can win this tournament? Because we've all basically been discussing for like 30 minutes how crap we are.
What needs to change?
The manager.
Well, it's not going to be the manager, is it? Which I would love to happen. But for me, just a bit more pace on the wings, because the likes of your Gordon and your Palmer, that they can get in behind and turn their defenders. Instead of playing in front of them all the time and slow progressive build-up, which is really boring, just have the players that are capable. If they really need to go direct a bit quicker, they can get in behind. And just look a bit more exciting and be confident in the forward players, because at the minute it just looks like there's no confidence in amongst them, that they're just happy to knock it around the back 5 or back 6. So for me, and keep Harry Kane as far forward as you can. Didn't be dropping into stupid pockets. And if he's not capable, bring Watkins in, because I think he's had a hunger.
I agree. I said that before about potentially bringing on Watkins yesterday. I thought we looked a bit better against Denmark when he came on, and I'm a huge Harry Kane fan. I think he's potentially on form, the best striker in the world, but yeah, he's not showing it. Ross, I'll leave the last word with you. Brad's randomly came on for one question, which has totally worked considering we're talking about changes and substitutions. Give us your starting 11, Ross. And I'm going to assume that, there's no injuries and Phil Foden is back after the birth of his third child.
Obviously Pickford in goal. I think he'll change the back four. I think he'll give a sneak peek of it at the end there. I think he'll start Trent at right back because he wants Trent in the team no matter what. Back to Gahey and Stones, who I think have been really good. I think he'll put Kyle Walker left back. I think he will stick with Mano in midfield, how it ended with Rice. He's not going to drop Bellingham. He'll have Bellingham in the 10. I think he'll stick with Foden on the left. But I think he might drop Saka on the right and bring in Palmer because it was undeniable how much of an impact he had in them 20, 25 minutes. But that's what I'd pick. Kind of what I think he'll pick, but
You
bring
probably,
Foden.
you sure you don't want a striker in there, Ross, because you didn't.
Oh, Harry
pick a
Kane as well,
striker.
yeah.
Harry, just to check. I thought you meant just go with 10, and I was like, Howie, mate.
Yeah, just go with 10. I'll be watching Sunderland that long. I forgot we had to play a striker. So it's easily forgettable. But I think it might depend on how much training Foden misses as well, because if he's not involved in the plans much, not there on the pitch, then you could see Saka or Palmer playing on the other side, or even Gordon coming in for Foden as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, but another low block to play against. So, let's get bored to death to a 1-0 win, hopefully.
Let's get ready to slumber. Lads, thanks so much for joining. Chaotic as always. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, Dave and Brad, in a weird substitution. I quite liked it, if I'm honest.
Radley, you left to a layout.
No, I mean, I like the substitution best. That's the best bit of the whole show. That and dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah. Wait till you hear about the dinosaurs, Brad.
Yeah.
I'll play it for my daughter. She's obsessed with dinosaurs now.
Well, they're very stubborn.